Let's say you're not rich. Let's say you actually have a real budget. Let's say it's around $40,000, and let's say you want something that has a pickup truck bed.
Yes, well, it can be confusing finding the perfect truck for you, but here we are. We're gonna make it easy.
Yes.
We have 3 trucks from 3 different segments. We have the Santa Cruz from compact segment, we have the Ford Ranger from the midsize, and the Ram 1500 from the full-size trucks. They're all about $40K.
That's right, as equipped.
Yes. So which truck is best for you? Well, the compact pickup truck segment is brand new. It's just about a year old, right?
That's right, and essentially 2 trucks, or pickups, represent this class, and that would be the Ford Maverick and, of course, the Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now, the Santa Cruz has a couple different trims. You can get these much less expensive than this one. They start out with front-wheel drive with a naturally aspirated engine. They go all the way up to this turbocharged all-wheel drive one. This is also last year's model, so when we configured it to this year's current specs, and as such, we came up with about $40,000 for, what is it, an SEL with all the goodies?
Yeah, this is an SEL Premium. But another thing I want to point out, that it only comes in kind of single configuration body style,
This
right?
is it.
So you get 4 doors that we'll show you in a bit. You got this 4-foot bed, and you got, like you said, 2 engine options. And here's where the utility comes in. By the way, it is 11 degrees.
Yeah, it's a little cold, guys, in case the camera freezes up, but keep on going.
So here, right, why are you buying a Santa Cruz? You're buying it because of this, right? You want a bed. But
There's more.
this is only about 4 feet deep, and you're getting a secret compartment. Hey, that's not frozen.
Yeah, actually, that is like a miniature version of the one that's available. Well, that comes standard, actually, in the Honda Ridgeline, which, by the way, doesn't quite fit into the segment that we're covering. But essentially what you're talking about here is a crossover. It's not really a pickup truck. It's a crossover that has a bed that is good for utility.
Yes, so how about this? Can you pop the hood while I mention towing? Because that's going to be important to you, right, if you're buying a pickup truck. This one is not equipped with a hitch. As you can see below here, this one does not have a hitch below. But if you did equip it with a towing package with a turbocharged engine, like this one has, it's ready to tow up to 5,000 pounds. And Nathan and I did an iGauntlet World's Toughest Towing Test with a very similar truck and a very heavy trailer that was pushing near its limit, right?
That's right, and it towed just fine in terms of pulling power, but there was a little bit of tugging going on because this is a lightweight vehicle. These average between, say, about 3,700 pounds all the way to 3,900 pounds. This one's right in the meat of that. So fairly lightweight. So if you're going to pull 5,000 pounds, you may want to get something bigger, but it'll do it.
Yeah, and the power is plentiful in the turbo.
Oh, yeah.
About just over 280 horsepower and over 310 pound-feet of torque, right?
311 according to some people, and I will tell you this. If this engine is just too much for you, you can get one that produces about 100 horsepower less. But in this configuration, this is where you're going to be towing the most, and this is the one that's going to really fly. But there is a caveat. This also comes with the 8-speed dual clutch transmission. There is an 8-speed automatic available, but only for the non-turbo versions. The dual clutch in this is a little finicky. As a matter of fact, right now we're just about to take this to a dealership to have it, I believe, reprogrammed?
Yeah, reprogrammed. There's one of the recalls for this transmission. So I would recommend, actually, if you're looking at the compact segment as a runabout, I would get a naturally aspirated one like you did.
Yes, or the Ford Maverick, which gives you some other options. Unfortunately, we don't have one available to bring out today.
But also, let me show you something inside. This is the biggest selling point of this vehicle.
It's time to sell our long-term Ford Bronco, and we're doing it over at TFLbids.com. That's right, one of you can be the very proud owner of our 2021 Ford Bronco First Edition. Check it out in the link below.
Here's what I love about the Santa Cruz, dude. You can get in, close the doors. It's pretty comfy.
Yep.
And also, there's no knobs to pull or levels to switch. It's always all-wheel drive if you're getting the all-wheel drive version.
Right.
You have a central differential lock.
Right, which works up to about 23 miles per gallon per hour. But you also have here where you can actually change the mode. So you can do a snow mode, you can do a smart mode, you can do a sport mode. Now, this vehicle does have screens and whatnot in it because it is slightly higher than the lower end version. Otherwise, this screen would actually be regular dials. The screen would be
kind of like in your truck.
exactly like mine, yeah.
Because you purchased one non-turbocharged version of this.
That is correct. One of the reasons why I did it is because of the comfort of driving it. It's basically like driving a regular crossover, and it was a family vehicle, so I wanted everybody to be able to drive it comfortably, and I find the interior in this to be pretty comfortable, and it's a very easy car to park and very easy car to drive daily.
And here, if you can zoom in on the odometer, which is on the right side here, we put in over 10,560 miles on this truck. This is our long-term tester.
Yeah.
Our team, Roman and me and others have driven this truck, and it's quite good in the snow, except, we had a few hiccups with the transmission, which is kind of jerky sometimes.
Right, and what's one of the reasons why it's gone through the recall, and they're sorting it out. The good news is if you don't need that type of power, the 8-speed is a lot smoother. It's not as jerky, that's for sure.
Yeah, but what if you had 40 grand, but you wanted something bigger?
That's the question.
So now we're stepping up in class. Now we're in the mid-size pickup truck territory. And this Ford Ranger, although it is 3.5 years old, represents what's available now.
That's correct, because currently a Ford Ranger with this type of powertrain and setup essentially is the same. And on top of that, we're not talking about a car-based vehicle anymore. Now we're actually at a ladder frame, proper solid rear axle, proper 4x4 too. This is an entirely different vehicle, despite the fact it's basically the same money.
Yeah, and it also has a 4-door configuration. Current Ranger you can buy also with an extended cab,
right,
where the cab is actually smaller and the bed is longer. But this is a crew cab with a 5-foot bed, so now it's a foot longer than in the Santa Cruz.
Right, and I believe it's deeper too.
Yeah, it's a bit deeper. So let's take a quick look. And this particular Ranger you see here is an XL, which is kind of a base model, but it has several packages, which we'll describe in a second,
right,
which brings the price up, but also has a lot of value, I think, also put together.
Well, considering that you have the FX4 package, which does give you a locking rear diff and better suspension, off-road skid plates, and a couple other goodies, it's not a bad value. How about I go pop the hood?
Yeah, so payload, funny enough, is about the same as the Santa Cruz at about 1,400 pounds. So the Santa Cruz has really good payload, but the Ranger will tow more, up to 7,500 pounds, and this is the version we have here. This XL, STX, FX4, there's a lot of letters, I know. But this one will tow 7,500 pounds. Let's look under the hood. And by the way, we bought it used, so TFL owns this one actually.
Yes.
And we put about 4,000 miles on top of it after we bought it, which was only a couple months ago.
Right. And once again, 4-cylinder turbo, right? But this is a very different type of setup. This isn't a different transmission. This is just a whole different vehicle.
Yeah, so 2.3 liters. So actually a little bit smaller displacement.
Displacement-wise, yeah.
But actually a little bit less power, 270 horsepower, a little bit less, 310 pound-feet of torque, which is about the same torque.
Give or take, yeah.
But a 10-speed automatic.
10-speed automatic transmission, feeding the rear wheels through a proper 4x4 system.
Yeah, and actually efficiency-wise in the real world, you saw that readout when we were inside at about 21.5.
Yeah.
This will also do 21.5 on a good day. On a bad day, maybe about 19 or 20. All right, let's jump in the Ranger. So, believe it or not, this is a 2019 model, and we bought it with 4,300 miles. So it was super low miles truck.
Yeah.
And look at this now, 8,449 miles. So a lot of those miles came from Alex and Case going to Los Angeles.
Yeah, they loaded up 2 motorcycles in the bed.
Yeah, so we've been using it pretty heavily.
Yeah, now this one thing you cannot do with the Hyundai is load 2 full-size motorcycles in the bed. There's no way it's going to work.
Because this bed is a little bit deeper, it's a little bit longer, so all those things help. Let me start this up and let it ding.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
You know, the Ford thing.
I am Ford.
I am Ford.
I am Ford.
Okay.
Okay.
So this interior is dated, right? I mean,
Yeah,
because
it really
came
is.
from really European and Australian versions of this truck.
Yeah, you can almost go 10 years back on this.
Yeah. But here's what I want to make the point of. Right now we're in two-wheel drive, so too
Yes.
high. So this is now trucky, where the Santa Cruz was more car-oriented, right? This, like right now, I would need to go to 4 high if I want to get up this,
Yeah,
trail
well, the
here.
snow, yeah.
And then this one does not have 4 auto. No. Although I think some versions will allow that. This one does not have an all-wheel drive setting.
But it does have a tow package.
Yes, tow mode, terrain mode. We have the tow haul mode right here. We have rear locker, and actually trail control system, like a slow speed off-road trail control.
Right. These are things that are not available on the Hyundai for obvious reasons. This has better ground clearance. This has better articulation. This is actually built to be taken off-road, and it's built to be hammered like a truck. So you're moving up to light ability to medium ability here.
And I think that's what the solid rear axle gives you, that additional capability. And I think the comfort is still here. I mean, in most situations, this is still a pretty comfortable vehicle to drive, but not quite a runabout as a Santa Cruz.
No, this one doesn't park as easily, doesn't maneuver quite as well. I mean, so there are some real differences between a car, which that basically is, and a truck, which this is.
Yeah, and of course that's why we have, because it's a base model, that's why we have a tiny screen. So
that is smaller than my cell phone.
Actually, it's smaller than a credit card, I think.
I think it is.
But there you have it, about the same payload, but way different animal. I would buy this if I wanted to do a little bit more trail running, dirt roads, and such.
Right, and I would buy that if I was living in the city and needed a little bit more of an urban vehicle.
But what if you want to bring more stuff with you? Like lots more.
Lots more?
Aha! Now we're in the full-size pickup truck territory.
That's right, and this one was carefully picked out because we wanted to make sure it blended in with the snow. This is actually camouflage.
No, well, actually, this is not, this is a two-door truck, shorter bed. We call him stubby. So it's really not truly representative of a proper full-size truck, but it costs about the same as that Ranger and that Santa Cruz, actually.
So you can get a full-size 4x4 for the price of those other two vehicles. However, you're going to have to make some concessions.
Yes, but that's what I was saying with this bed, dude. So I said bring more stuff, right?
Right.
So this has higher payload. Let me show you. This payload is about 1,546 pounds. So actually not that much more than the other trucks, by about 150 pounds.
Yeah, but there's a lot more capacity. It's a much wider bed.
Yeah, let me show you. So this bed is called short, but it's not really short. It's 6 foot 4 inches. So I can stretch my wingspan. Do you like my wingspan?
Yeah, because you're over 6'2".
Okay. So this is quite a good bed for bringing different stuff like couches, moving large things. We have this tonneau cover on it. And we're carrying snow.
Well, yeah, I mean, a little bit of payload is a good thing, right?
Yeah.
So this type of setup is really good for people who are doing utility things, running a parts warehouse, or perhaps working on a farm, or doing something like that where they need something that gets half-decent mileage to run around with loads in the bed. The thing is, it doesn't really tow as good as that Ford.
Yeah, let me explain that for a second.
Please.
Also, I want to point out, since this is 6 foot 4 inches deep, you can actually, if you put a truck topper, you can technically turn it into a little bit of an overlander where most people can lay down here and sleep, right?
Most people,
right?
Yeah, unless they're freakishly tall.
Yes. But you mentioned towing, right?
Right.
An issue. So we were looking for the most affordable truck in the nation, which this is, for full-size four-wheel drive. It does have a hitch. It does have trailer wiring. It does have a brake controller. By the way, the Ranger does not come with a standard brake controller for trailers.
And neither does the Santa Cruz.
No, so you have to add those aftermarket.
Right.
Here, it's included. Obviously, it's a full-size truck. But because of the rear axle ratio, which is a 321, it only tows 4,700 pounds.
Which is actually less than that Santa Cruz, and obviously way less than the Ford. So,
There's a way to fix it.
okay.
So if you chose this truck the way it is, this Ram 1500 Classic with the 355, just change the rear axle, you can tow up to about 7,700 pounds.
That's a little bit more like
which is
it.
now comparable
Yeah,
to the Ranger.
Yeah, and you can go up a lot higher too if you start building up in class and everything else and get the Hemi and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, right?
Absolutely, you can tow up to 12,000 pounds if you really, like you said, got the V8 engine and all that stuff.
There you go. So we obviously know that there are limitations, but once again, we are talking about price. So what do you get for the price? Well, you are getting four-wheel drive, proper four-wheel drive system. You are also getting a rather beefy V6 under the hood that's been around for a very long time and is known by many to be a fairly reliable setup as well. And that's something that Andre likes.
Yeah, totally. It's a 3.6 liter Pentastar V6, and bam, we can show it to you. So this is a little bit more traditional. While the Santa Cruz and the Ranger have small displacement, turbocharged engines, which is kind of the new age, right?
Right.
This is still naturally aspirated. By the way, this older version of this engine does not have e-torque either.
Which is something that you and I both kind of welcome.
Yeah, I would rather have a kind of oldie but goodie rather than having a mild hybrid system in here.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. This is still an 8-speed automatic transmission, which is interesting. It's because the Santa Cruz also has an 8-speed, but they're very different.
Yeah.
And this is, once again, a proper four-wheel drive vehicle, so it actually has a transfer case and everything else.
And low range, which
Right.
we'll show you in a second. But efficiency-wise, it's about the same, believe it or not. You and I have done many tests on the highway.
Dear God, we have.
And we've done 22 mpg all day long in this thing.
Right.
So it's comparable.
Right, so it's a relatively efficient, relatively affordable, full-size truck, but just not full-size in terms of overall capacity if you compare it to other full-size trucks.
All right, well, let me show you some of the controls.
Yeah.
Dude, one thing I did not realize before we bought this truck is how long and gigantic this door is, offering tremendous amount of entry space.
Actually, that's great, and both you and I have driven this truck quite a bit. Actually, all of us have, and they're very comfortable seats. I'll give Ram a lot of credit on that. Base model vehicle, still very comfortable seats for a base model, even though they are fabric.
Yeah, and speaking about the suspension, right, we mentioned the ride quality in the other trucks.
Yeah.
Actually, for a full-size truck, this is not bad because it has a multi-link, not leaves, in the back. It's got a multi-link suspension, and actually it's pretty comfy.
Its overall setup is still technically the older generation Ram. This is the Classic, by the way, so this is not the same as your modern Ram, right? I
Yeah.
mean, even though that one's been in production for a couple of years.
And we've used this pretty heavily too. Has lots of cup holders.
Yep.
I think this is where Tommy puts his chocolate milk.
That's right. He's just the young guy still growing.
So, but this is a 3-person vehicle, so you can put
Legitimately 3 people too. You can put a third person in the middle.
this up. We have.
Yes. I know.
But when Tommy wasn't here, when I was driving, his knees were in his nose.
Which was really funny. So preferably someone who's not as tall as Tommy, and preferably someone who's not as wide as me.
But this is what I wanted to point out. Trailer brake controller is built in.
Yeah.
So, you don't have to go aftermarket or anything like this. It's available. 4 low is available. This one doesn't offer a locker for this price.
Right.
But you can get other versions of the Ram.
Sure.
But look, pretty nice controls for your cruise control system, even though it's pretty simple.
It's old school.
Previous generation, right? It's still really functional, really nice.
Yeah, it does the job. There is a couple really big questions I'm sure people have out there. How much does it cost to add 2 more doors? Well, a lot.
Yeah, and they have something called the Ram 1500 Classic Warlock,
Right.
which is a pretty beefy, cool-looking truck. But once again, you have to be in the upper 40s to kind of go for that one.
Right, so you're going to do a major jump to make this thing into something a little bit more desirable, but as it sits, it is about the same price as the other 2 trucks.
So dude, have we decided anything after this video?
Well, we told you guys what you can get for 40 grand, these 3, which all 3 are very competent. However, I'm kind of curious, For the money,
Yeah.
which one would you take?
Well, you know me, I love large trucks.
Right, that's not allowed.
So 1500 truck, full-size truck is where my needs are.
Yeah, but you're wrong.
But I have a family.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say.
Where would I put the children and the
Yeah,
stuff?
you can't put one of your kids in the back. It's still not legal in some states to leave a kid in the back.
Okay. So how about you? Which one would you pick?
Well, obviously, I bought one of these before, so, I mean, come on. But I also want to tow more from time to time. And I want to haul more from time to time. And I want to go off-road from time to time. So
Ooh.
I have a natural conclusion. I'm sure you guys would agree. At least for the three of these, this, our Ford, makes the most sense for both Andre and I. At least amongst the three of these.
I would agree. So this is kind of like do everything well.
It's like the Goldilocks. It's just right.
There you have it. It's the Goldilocks video as always.
See you guys.
We'll see you next time. And also check us out at oldtfl.com. Everything automotive in one place, one-stop shop.